in Unit 4, I would say that you want to have some kind of visual representation of why saving under a different file name, your template under a different file name for each client, is 100% important. It seems kind of self-evident once you say it, right? That you don't want to always be writing over your template. Your template is supposed to say sacrosanct, just the way it is. That way you can use it for every other client that you ever work with. If you start cutting stuff out of your template and then saving it, you lose all that information and you got to go try and find it all again. The front page of the report, and in making that specific to every client, we always say at the top of the thing, type the company name here that you're working in, put their logo right under it. But you want to put their company logo. You ultimately want this report to look as though it is a report produced by the company that you serviced. That way they can pass it around internally as if it's an internal company report. But you do want to draw attention to the fact that you prepared it. But make that an understated part of it. That allows them to take that report, even if they get it 24 hours before their meeting with you, that second meeting, and blast it all around the company as if it's an internal report. And if it's coming from the boss, you bet people are going to read it. If they just send it out to the green team members, that's probably the most likely case scenario. Then at least those people will see it, and it'll look like an internal report. They'll say, wow, we're really involved in this, and they'll come to the table with their thinking hats on and say, hey, let's how to make this get done. And how do I line myself up with the boss on this one? So definitely make it look like it's an internal report to the greatest degree that you can. The second page, in terms of why you want to make that all about your firm's professionalism, it's awesome to make it look like it's an internal company report, except you do want to get credit for it. So you want to make that second page in the report really about, the stuff that makes you look good. Because all of these people that are getting this report are very likely to be the people that meet with you when you come out for that second meeting. So you want them to walk in with a good impression of you. So speak well of yourself and your company. If you don't have the expertise, refer to Earth Savers Institute and that you're credentialed through them. Leverage the credentials of others. Say that it's based upon a model that Green Earth Corporate Kindness created. If you don't have your own legitimacy because you're just starting out, leverage and use your other people's. Just make sure that you do it in a way that doesn't belie the truth. You don't want to say you work for Earth Savers Institute or anything like that. But why it makes sense to go through the checklist first, to highlight what the client is doing best today was not applicable to that particular client. We talked about that a little bit. You don't want stuff that's not applicable to them in there. If they don't engage in a certain type of business behavior because it's nowhere around what they do, that don't have it be in the report. One example of that is, hey, we don't have catered events. Never going to happen. Boston never springs for food for everybody here. It's never going to happen. Don't have that as part of the report. Take that stuff out. One thing that's important is to know that the template that we gave is not going to cut it even 1% of the time with every client. What I mean by that is you go out to any different type of business, in every type of business, and this is kind of, this isn't even business 101, this is business 100. Every business is different, even if they look exactly the same. Two gas stations competing with each other directly across the street do not do everything the same. One of them fills up their tanks at 6 o'clock in the morning, one does it at 5:30. One charges 2 cents more. Why is that? Well, because they're on the right side of the road to do that. Right as people come off the highway, or right as people are about to load on to work, whatever side of the road gets more traffic, they get 2 cents because they know people aren't going to want to make that dangerous left-hand turn. Every business is different, even if they look exactly the same and they're directly across the street from each other. And it's kind of funny, I'm Roman Catholic, but I went to a place in Cranston yesterday with my brother Frank's a priest. There were actually two churches. Looked like they were built by the same person, two Roman Catholic churches. There wasn't even a parking lot separating them. They were right next to each other. One's where all the Irish used to go, and one's where all the Italians used to go, and now all those families are basically intermarried, so both churches are full all the time. But no two businesses are exactly the same. That's something that every time you get this template, you got to look at those questions that are there with those responses that are there and say, how do I make this slightly more specific to the business that I'm actually working with and dealing with here? So maybe your suggestions, maybe it's time to step off the template path and write a particular response or highlight the response if it's really important for that particular client. Those things that you want to emphasize for clients, I always say highlight them in yellow. And tell your clients during the meeting when you go out to see them on the second time that things that were particularly important for them that you highlighted in yellow. That way, if the business owner is not going to give you a report the time of day beyond a cursory review, he might just flip through. A lot of these mouses out there that people have on their computers have this little roller thing on them now. They're just going to roll down, see the ones in yellow, and go, yep, that's exactly right. This person highlighted an area of interest of mine, an interest in my company, and I'm going to implement that. And if only 4 or 5 things can jump off the page, what would those 4 or 5 things be? Highlight those things in your report. Make sure that you draw attention to them. Because you're giving somebody a 35-page, 40-page report, chances are they're not going to read the whole thing. If they're only going to go through and do that cursory level of reading, then highlight it for them and give them an opportunity to make good decisions easily. And, you know, especially if they wanted to benefit them and in some way might be able to benefit you to be able to make some money off of it. Or they just have a huge environmental impact and you just need them to do their good, because that's a big part of what we do too. You know, and then there's this critical question of how to deliver the report. Like we've said before in other classes, we'll say it again now. You want that report to be delivered 24 hours, not more than 48 hours, not less than 24 hours before you meet with that client for that scheduled second meeting. That you're going to go out and show them the report on a video projector and show them, you know, how to read your report and what to do to make sense of it.